Question 1. Do you like reading?
Yes, I do. I mainly read novels to unwind, especially romance, as I find them quite relaxing. I also keep up with current events by reading news and articles on social media, which has kind of become a daily habit. Aside from that, I occasionally pick up books related to my major to broaden my knowledge and sharpen my skills, although I tend to stick to lighter reading when I'm just trying to relax.
Question 2. Do you usually read for leisure or for work purposes?
I'd say both, but I definitely read more for leisure. I do some reading for work, but I'm quite drawn to novels and storytelling. Even when I try to resist, I often end up reading fiction in my free time. For me, it's a great way to relax and recharge after a long day.
Question 3. What was your favorite book or story when you were a child?
One of the first books I remember really enjoying was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I borrowed it from a childhood friend who had this old wooden trunk full of books, which I found really fascinating at the time. The story itself was such a page-turner that I ended up finishing it in one sitting right after I got my hands on it. I was completely hooked.
Question 4. Do you prefer to read on paper or on a screen?
I prefer reading on paper, as I find it easier to concentrate when I read physical books. I also really enjoy the smell of books and the feeling of turning the pages, which makes the experience more enjoyable. On top of that, there are no ads or notifications to distract me, so I can stay focused for longer. That said, reading on a screen does have its advantages. You can store a large number of books on a single device and carry it around easily, which is something traditional books can't really match.
Question 5. When do you need to read carefully and when not?
I think it depends on the purpose of reading. I usually read carefully when the information is important or complex, such as academic materials, work-related documents, or instructions. In these cases, I need to pay close attention to details to fully understand the content and avoid making mistakes. On the other hand, I don't read as carefully when I'm reading for leisure, like novels or online articles. I tend to skim through the content just to get the main idea or enjoy the story without focusing too much on every detail. I like to talk about a Japanese novel I read last year called Violet Evergarden. It's part of a light novel series, and honestly, it's one of the most emotionally powerful stories I've ever come across. It follows a girl named Violet who was raised as a soldier, so she doesn't really understand emotions. After the war ends, she starts working as a letter ghostwriter, helping people express feelings they can't put into words. And through that, she gradually learns what love and human connection really mean. I actually picked it up after watching the anime because at the time the final movie hadn't been released yet, and I was too curious about the ending, so I went ahead and read the last volume of the novel. What I found really useful about the book is the way it explores emotions. It made me realize how important it is to express how we feel and to appreciate the people around us. I also found myself thinking more about how I communicate with others in real life. As for how I felt, I was really moved by it. The writing is quite poetic, and even though it's fictional, it feels very real. It's the kind of story that stays with you long after you finish it.
Question 1. What are the types of books that young people like to read?
I think young people today enjoy a wide range of books,
but some of the most popular ones are fiction, especially genres like romance, fantasy, and adventure. These types of books are engaging and allow readers to escape from reality. Another popular category is self help or personal development books, as many young people are interested in improving themselves, whether it's learning new skills or building better habits. In addition, with the rise of social media, some young readers are also drawn to shorter or more visually appealing content, such as graphic novels or books that are easy to read and relate to.
Question 2. What's the difference between the reading habits of old people and young people?
I think there are several differences between the reading habits of older and younger people. One main difference is that young people tend to prefer more modern and entertaining content, such as novels, especially genres like romance or fantasy, as well as online articles. They also often read on digital devices like smartphones or tablets. On the other hand, older people are more likely to read traditional materials such as newspapers, magazines, or classic literature. They also tend to prefer reading on paper rather than on screens. Another difference is the purpose of reading. Younger people often read for entertainment or self improvement, while older people may read more for information or to keep up with current events.
Question 3. What's the difference between paper books and e-books?
I think there are several key differences between paper books and ebooks. One main difference is the reading experience. Paper books provide a more physical and sensory experience. You can feel the pages and even smell the book, which many people find enjoyable. In contrast, ebooks are read on screens, which some people may find less engaging. Another difference is convenience. Ebooks are much more portable, as you can store hundreds of books on a single device and carry them anywhere. Paper books, on the other hand, can be heavier and take up more space. Finally, there's the issue of distraction. When reading ebooks on devices, people may get interrupted by notifications or other apps, whereas paper books allow for a more focused reading experience.
Question 4. Some people say that it is easier for children who start reading from a young age to succeed. Do you agree?
Yes, I largely agree with that idea. Children who start reading at an early age tend to develop stronger language skills, such as vocabulary and comprehension, which are essential for their academic success later on. In addition, reading from a young age can help improve concentration and critical thinking. These skills are not only useful in school, but also in many aspects of life. That said, I don't think reading is the only factor that determines success. Other elements, such as a supportive environment, good education, and personal motivation, also play an important role. So overall, early reading can give children a strong advantage, but it's not the only key to success.